Thank you, Wells. Good morning. Oh, let's do that again. Good morning. There we go. Welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church here in Pasadena. Welcome all members, friends, and guests here in person and virtually. My name is James Coombs, and I'm honored to serve as a member of your Board of Trustees. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community connected by faith, connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. With respect to the rights and wisdom of Indigenous people, we acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices and ways of being with each other, and to learning new ways of being in community, in good relationship with the Indigenous people of this land and with the land itself. Today's service is led by our senior high group with music, yes. With music by Dr. Zenaida Robles, Associate Music Director Wells Lang, and our bell choir director F. Thomas Simpson. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. And thank you for joining us as we continue to prioritize connection over perfection in this hybrid service, which is being streamed and recorded on YouTube. Families with young children are welcome in the sanctuary, in the narthex, or in our new family lounge in the living room of Neighborhood House, where the service is live streamed on a big screen. I have a few announcements this morning. And first, there is a drop-in chalice circle today at 1 p.m. in the Remembrance and Renewal Dining Room of Neighborhood House. This is an opportunity to try out this small group discussion and of spiritual themes, and visitors are always welcome. There will be one service at 10 a.m. on Easter, April 9th, next week, including our new member welcome, and it's followed by our traditional Easter egg hunt and snacks, so be there. A big thank you to everyone, this deserves some applause, a big thank you to everyone who has helped us meet 67% of our pledge goals so far. Congratulations. Stop by the pledge table on the patio after the service to grab a snack and share your thoughts on how Neighborhood Church keeps you inspired, involved, and invested. And are you new to pledging, or are you feeling a little lost about all of this pledge talk? Check out the pledge guide. And it explains a little bit of it explains the terminology, shares past giving statistics and what your funds support. Longtime members may also enjoy this refresher. Our order of service and more extensive announcements are available as a link in the Sunday email, posted in the narthex, or through the QR code on the back of your hymnal. You can always get more information on these and many other activities at the welcome table. And again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Welcome to this inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the senior high service. I'm Camellia, this is Juke, that's Theo, Rowan, and Luke. We thank you for being with us today in body and in spirit. For our opening words today, I have picked, "My soul honors your soul." I honor the place where the whole universe resides. I honor the light, love, truth, beauty, and peace within you, because it is also within me. In sharing these things, we are united. We are the same. We are one. To start today's service, I would like you to turn to a neighbor or maybe somebody you don't know, shake hands, greet each other, and share a childhood memory of yours. As we finish sharing our childhood memories, I advise you to find your seats. Since you are all my neighbors, I will share my favorite childhood memory with you. There are many, but the one that I remember most fondly is probably climbing the tree in front of my grandpa's house with my older sisters, trying to race for the top, and often being shoved out of it while trying to race for the top.
Our opening hymn is number 1018 in your teal hymnals. Will you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing "Come and Go With Me," number 1018.
Come Hi. I'm Luke, and I'll be reading Walter the Farting Dog. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller, and there was over 1 million copies sold somehow. Betty and Billy brought Walter home from the dog pound. Nobody wanted him, said Billy. But we love him, said Betty. Well, he smells awful, said their mother. I think you better give him a bath. Mother walked in and said, he still smells awful. And that's when they got the first clue. The telltale bubbles in the water. He's probably just a little nervous, said the mother hopefully. His stomach must be upset. But Walter's stomach wasn't upset. Walter's stomach was just fine. He felt perfectly normal. He just farted a lot. He did it when he bathed. He did it when he played with Betty and Billy. He did it when he walked around the house. He did it in the dining room. He did it in the kitchen. And he did it in his sleep. That dog farts morning, noon, and night, said Father. He can't help it, Daddy, said Betty and Billy. They didn't mind Walter's farts. So what if he farts? Billy said to Betty, when they were alone in their room with Walter. Betty agreed. Walter agreed too. He sat there looking innocent around, farting. Take him to the vet, said Father. Farting, said the vet, or rectal functions, I don't speak doctor. As we say in the medical profession, and prescribed a change in diet. They gave Walter every kind of dog food. He farted. They tried him on cat food. They gave him hot dogs, hamburgers, and lettuce and tomato sandwiches. They gave him fried chicken. They gave him rabbit food. They made him a vegetarian. No matter what that dog eats, he turns into farts, roared Father. Walter got blamed for everybody else's farts too. If Uncle Irv let out one slip, he just went and stood near Walter. Then all he had to say was, Walter! And everyone would look at poor Walter. He has to go back to the pound, said Father. No, Daddy, please, begged Betty and Billy. Don't send Walter away. He goes tomorrow, said Father. They pleaded. Walter farted. It was all over. That night, Betty and Billy cried in their beds, and Walter looked at them unhappily. Oh, Walter, said Betty, you've got to stop farting, because Father is going to send you back to the pound tomorrow, said Billy. Walter knew he was in a serious situation. He had never seen Betty and Billy again. He resolved to hold his farts in forever. When Betty and Billy fell asleep, he walked down to the kitchen to see if there was anything on the ground to eat. He managed to open the cupboard door open with his nose and found a 25-pound bag of low-fart dog biscuits that the vet had prescribed for him, which had made him fart more. Even though he knew that they made him fart more, he couldn't resist. He ate the entire bag. Very tasty, said Walter to himself. and then he went and laid down on the sofa. A gigantic gas bubble began to build up inside him. This was going to be trouble, he said to himself nervously. He was afraid of what might happen if he had let it go. He thought that maybe the house would explode, so he kept it in. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was torture, but he had to resolve to never fart again. His future depended on it. As he lay there with his tail wrapped tightly between his legs, he heard a noise at the window. Oops, I forgot to show the picture. He watched the window slowly open, and a pair of burglars came through. They dropped silently into the kitchen. "Watch out for the dog," said one of them to the burglars. "He won't bite," said the other one. "He's a wimp." Walter might have bitten them, except he was so filled with gas he couldn't move. They tied a rag around his snout so he couldn't bark. "Okay," whispered the first burglar. "Let's clear this place out." They took everything they could, getting their hands on whatever they could find. Walter wanted to stop them, but he was having an unbearable gas pains. He rolled on his back and waved his paws in the air. He garnished his teeth. "We've got it all," said the second burglar. "Let's go." That's when Walter let it fly. It was the worst part of his life. It made a tremendous noise and shot him across the room. A hideous cloud filled the air. The burglars clutched their throats, unable to breathe. With tears in their eyes, they raced for the window. They tried to grab their bag with all the valuables in it, but their arms were too weak. Let's get out of here." They jumped out the window and ran up the block, choking and gasping for air. Still blinded by Walter's attack, they stepped into the headlights of an approaching police car. "Hold it right there," said the policeman. When father and mother came down in the morning, they found the open window, and they saw the bag with all their valuables in it, and Walter was sitting beside it. He had still had the rag tied around his snout. You'd have to say that he looked heroic. He saved the silverware," cried mother. "He saved the VCR," cried father. "Good dog." "Walter, you're our dog, even if you do fart all the time." And so then the family learned to live with Walter, the heroic dog. And that's the end of our tale.
We'll sing our, oh.
Sorry.
Hi, Matt.
Just TK through first grade has class today. Okay, second grade is up, stay in. There's a fun activity during the service that you're going to want to participate in, okay?
So for our TK and K and the people that Matt said who are leaving, we will sing them out with our UU principal song.
Good morning. My name is Shelby Carlson. A lot of you may not recognize me because I'm one of the newest members here at Neighborhood. On January 15th, I attended my first service here and first ever UU service. I excitedly and slightly tentatively walked up to the welcome table and started talking to Ginger. She was so friendly and amazing for answering all my initial questions, putting me at ease, and helping me feel welcome. To give you some background about me, I grew up in a devout Catholic household that attended church every Sunday and religious education every week. At 15, a few months after going through confirmation, my disenchantment with the patriarchal and rigidity of the Catholic Church came to a head, and I left the church. At that point, I started identifying as an agnostic atheist and avoided organized religion altogether. Later in high school, though, I learned about Unitarian Universalism through one of my friends whose mom went to a UU church. After a deep dive in Google, I fell in love with the idea of UU, but I just wasn't really in a place to want to prioritize spirituality. I knew, though, that one day I'd find my way to a UU church. Fast forward to 2023, and I felt I was finally in a place to focus on my spirituality and spiritual growth. I had moved to Glendale last year, so I Googled UU churches near me, and Neighborhood popped up. So I figured, why not? I'll just go attend a service. And that first service was such an incredible, moving experience, from the story for all ages to the stunning choir. At the end of that service, I knew I had found my spiritual home. I spoke to Ginger and became an official member, becoming the first person to pledge this year. Thank you. However, the largest influencing factor in me joining Neighborhood is the vibrant young adult group here. Ben, yes. Ben and Ginger have created such a warm, open, and inclusive environment. From the thought-provoking spiritual programming to the robust social connection full of amazing people, we have an incredible group. I have never felt so comfortable and included so quickly in a group like this before, especially with people I feel such a deep connection to. Even after my first service, I knew I was in at Neighborhood. I was inspired to become involved and invested in the community here at Neighborhood and to begin my journey as a Unitarian Universalist. Thank you to all of you who continue to include me, inform me, invigorate me, and inspire me.
Hello, I'm Juke. Today we ask you to please donate to the Lucas Pender Foundation. Lucas was a senior high member years ago who sadly took his life. His mother started this foundation to help others by giving to the youth. It gave opportunities to attend district events. It's an important and incredible foundation with a goal to help so many. Please give what you can. Thank you.
And will the volunteers please bring the plates forward?
To continue with the service and lead into our meditation portion, I would like to ask you all to open your envelopes that you received at the beginning of the service. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Once you receive your envelope, please look inside for a colorful piece of paper. It should either be pink or yellow with a star or a heart on it.
Please do not take anything else out besides the paper.
You lit that flame. You lit that flame. What happened? I'm shaking. Does everybody have an envelope now?
Anybody who doesn't? Everybody got one?
Okay, so once you have received your heart or your star, that will be the group you're in. Hearts, you will be the givers. Stars, you will be the receivers. Stars, you can pick to either receive a hug, a high five, or just receive positive energy or affirmations by simply placing an X over your chest. Hearts, you will give the stars whatever they may choose, whether it be a hug, a high five, or a positive affirmation. If you feel comfortable not hugging, you can also just choose and say, "Can I give you a high five?" And that is perfectly fine.
We will do a demonstration. I'm the star.
Hi, Jude. Hi, Juke. What would you like?
High five.
It's as simple as that.
Or a hug. Hey, yeah, it can last as long as you want it to last.
As Zendaya begins to lead our meditative hymn, feel free to get up in body and in spirit and go and find somebody of your opposite group. Thank you.
Enjoy.
You can feel free to join in singing it as well. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, When I breathe out, I'll breathe. As you make your way back to your seats, sing once more. In, I'll breathe in. Slowly coming back to our seats. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out. And one more time, joining me in singing. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
I now invite you to enter a meditative state. See a blossom in your mind's eye. Allow it to fill the interior of your imagination. Greater perfection of form in nature cannot be imagined. With inward gaze, absorb each wondrous fluted petal. Slide down its humid surface until you drop as the dew into its velvety core. Immerse your senses in this safe chamber. Such fragile beauty gives impulse to weep. Slowly reverse the journey as you ascend the shaft towards wider light. Turn your imagination around and see its many facets. Stored within is the memory of all flowers. Marvel that this creation, while utterly fragile, yet undaunted, boldly buds forth, turning resolutely towards the sun. We too shimmer with expectation, exuding our own illumination, color, pulse, and scent. Vulnerable, still we venture our lives courageously toward hope and light, at once fragile and rooted. A moment of silence will follow the sound of the bowl.
Hi, everyone, again. As you guys know by now, my name is Camelia Zatma. There's a lot of speeches I could give for today, and I've thought over this speech a million times. Because the past senior high members have delivered impeccable speeches, and I don't want to tarnish my forebearers' reputation for their incredible speeches by not being able to pick a topic or messing up this speech. When I thought about today's theme, the first thought that came to mind was childhood memories, the memories that we all reflect back on. You all thought about one and shared it at the beginning of today's service. I hope it brought you comfort. There are so many things that came to mind when I thought about my childhood memories. There's my teta zeyto zatar, which is just Arab bread, olive oil, and herbs, but brought me comfort a lot as a child and still does now. There's my childhood dog, Sophie, who is 90 pounds of love, which quite often literally suffocated 6-year-old me, and another 10 pounds of attitude, which I always found myself on the receiving end of. But the one that I felt I really wanted to share with you guys today was my first childhood crush, who also happened to be my first marriage. The first kid I ever remember liking is Joshua. He was a cute little kid from the other kindergarten class. He was loud and obnoxious and obsessed with dinosaurs. Now in kindergarten, crushes are a big deal, because if a girl likes a boy and they hang out, that obviously means they're dating. Which of course is gross, because that's big kid stuff, and we're too busy racing around the blacktop track. Now little me was a romantic, and I even stole a little dinosaur book to give to him. In return, he gave me a rock, which I was disappointed by, because even as a little girl, I knew I was too good for just a rock. Eventually, Joshua asked me to marry him. I still remember the day because I just finished racing bikes when he came up to me and asked me to get married. I obviously said yes. And so that was that. At the age of 5, I became a child bride. At third recess that day, both kindergarten classes gathered behind the big tree, where the teachers couldn't see us. Him and I kissed, and that was it. I was married and in love, ready to be a dutiful wife. After recess, though, Joshua betrayed my trust. He told the teachers I kissed him. The audacity on this man was unbelievable. I went and tried to explain, but still got in trouble, being told I invaded his personal bubble. I was mad and embarrassed, because the teacher even told my dad, who of course scolded me. The reason this story came to mind wasn't because of the true heartbreak, betrayal, and death of young love that it contains, but because of the smile that it brings to my face. When you're a child, it's almost like you live in a bubble where everything is simple. Fairies are real simply because you believe in them. Being the fastest on the playground is the greatest honor. And in my case, if you like someone, it obviously means you have to marry them. The outside social norms don't really apply because we haven't really been exposed to them yet. The little moments and little reminders are so special. The music you danced to in the kitchen with your mom brings you back to the moments where you were the best dancer in the world. The food your grandparent made reminds you of how impatiently you'd wait for it to be done, because 10 minutes is the equivalent of waiting 10 lifetimes. The childhood animal reminds you of the loyal best friend and amazing cuddles. All these childhood memories bring us back to those childlike states, where we suddenly remember the time before the outside world seemed so heavy. I think taking time to go back and remember your childhood is the most healing thing you can do. Going back and remembering that not everything is as hard as it seems in the moment. Enjoy these comforts, and even connect with them again. Cook that childhood meal, ride bikes and see who's the fastest. Call or visit your comfort person. Appreciate your inner child, nurture it, give it time in the light. Dancing is something I've always loved. I first fell in love with it when I went to a party when I was 6. Watching the way the women in the dance circle so gracefully flicked their hands and smoothly transitioned to the next step, I quickly became obsessed. As a child, I loved it because I could control it. I danced however I felt like because dancing was my own. It made me feel my most beautiful. Now I still dance because I feel connected to that child again, because dancing makes the rest of the world fall away. Dancing never fails to make me happy, and I do it all the time. And I mean all the time. My mom often tells me to stop dancing, because dancing in Costco apparently isn't normal. With all the childhood good, though, comes the childhood struggles, because no life is perfect, and there's just as much struggle as there is comfort. The bad times in memory, however, hold just as much power as the good. They show what you've overcome and why you're so strong today. I've always struggled as a perfectionist since I was little. I've always had this need to do well and meet every standard I was believed set for me. This speech was another case in which I felt pressure to deliver a mind-blowing, extraordinary speech due to the standards I believe were set for me by past senior high members. Since I can remember, this need for perfection has been inside me. I grew up with 3 sisters, and 2 of them were older than me. So not only was there a lot of competition in my household, but a lot of role models that I sat idly by and watched grow up, hitting all the amazing milestones like driving in high school and college that I could only wait to hit. At each age, my older sisters seemed to grow into incredible young ladies, which they are, even if sometimes they are menaces. Now I know my older sisters took many embarrassing stumbles along the way. We all do. That's how we learn, and that's how we grow. Trust me, I have a ton of stories, but it was always hard for me to focus on those struggles when they always seemed to come out on top. Best of their class, best athlete, and as it seemed, sometimes best overall. I've always been proud of their accomplishments, always cheering for them, but on the inside, I promised myself everything they accomplished, I would accomplish one day too when I was their age, and I would do it just as well as them. I set these standards for myself to be better or equal to my older sisters, even though I wasn't them. Talking to my therapist, I would later know that this intense need for perfection mixed with the need to meet my sister's standards is called younger sibling syndrome. And I really struggled with it. I'm a middle child and have always wanted to stand out for my siblings as well. So you can see that this need to be them and also stand out for them at the same time was very hypocritical of myself. As I began to hit those same ages that I admired my older sisters at, I began to get very angry with myself because I felt like I was missing something. I was 13, but not as smart as my sister Noreen seemed to be at 13. I was 14, but absolutely sucked at soccer, and I mean really bad at it. I hate running in dirt and everything involved with it. But at 14, my sister Amina had made varsity team and was the pride of her soccer team. I felt cheated out of some sort of rite of passage. Why couldn't I be as good as my sisters were? Why was I always coming up short? All these failures were really hurting myself, especially mentally, because I was such a perfectionist, but somehow I wasn't good at the exact same things my sisters seemed to excel at. I began to grow extremely insecure with myself, and also very self-loathing, as any good teenager is. I was doing all the same things my sisters did, but I didn't want to be them. I wanted to stand out, and while I was trying to meet these standards I thought were set for myself, I felt like I was failing miserably. While all this was going on, I began to retract from my family, not knowing how to explain my feelings or why I was acting up, or ignoring all the rules set for me, dating some questionable figures. Everything I had promised myself as a child wasn't working out. I was most ashamed because I felt like I was letting little Camellia down, the one who saw her sisters as the greatest humans alive, even if they did lock me outside and trick me into giving up my TV time. I felt like I was letting down the little girl who had such high hope for her future, who had planned it out 10,000 times before. This insecurity in myself and guilt letting myself down took a huge toll on my mental health. When I would go out with my sisters, I suddenly felt like I was always the side character because I had failed to meet their standards. It seems that they were always going to be funnier, smarter, and better than me. It wasn't until therapy, which my parents forced me to go to, because apparently not communicating your emotions and instead having emotional outbursts isn't an option. In therapy, I began to really heal and fix my standards. My amazing therapist, who you will hear me talk about often, began to work with me on fixing my self-image and how I handled failure. Even now, I struggle with younger sibling syndrome, feeling like I can't compare to my sisters, but when that happens, I remind myself that it's okay, that I'm me, and that's just fine. I would even say it's better, but my ego is another problem entirely. Remembering back to this time isn't always my favorite. It makes me feel mad and sad a lot of times to remember myself at such a weak point, or to look back and pick apart everything I could have done differently. I often criticize myself for this time because everything I went through was self-inflicted. I look back on the girl I was, and as much as I hate her, I also understand her. I understand that the internal struggle brought me to this point today, that though it may have hurt at the time, I wouldn't be the same person I am here today, standing before you, if it wasn't for my struggles. All of our struggles are just as beautiful as our ups. Through this whole experience, I've begun to understand that no one is perfect. Everyone grows at their own pace. We all have role models who seem like they're perfect and always know what they're doing. We all set standards for ourselves, and sometimes we don't meet those standards, and that's okay. It's perfectly natural. I no longer feel like I disappointed little Camellia. I know I'm not that same little girl, but she is still with me and always has been. She grows and changes as I do. I still hold all of her hopes and dreams. I still dance whenever I hear music and fiercely defend my beliefs, though some have changed because apparently being a mermaid isn't considered a professional career path. Navigating this life to this point hasn't always been easy like the Disney movies told me it would be. My teen years aren't a holy grail for wisdom like I initially believed. But I have begun to understand that I have to have patience with myself. I have to know my own limits and give myself grace when needed. I don't always need to be perfect and get everything on the first try. The best thing I can do for myself is give it my best shot and give myself the break when I need to, so that way I'm able to get back up and try again at my own pace. Perfection, I still struggle with. I still get frustrated when things don't work out, but that's okay. Standing before you today, I understand that all those out-of-the-world senior high speeches that I watched all those years growing up were also probably created by a sleep-deprived teenager who was just trying to push through till summer break. I'm not done growing up. No one truly ever is done growing up. And that's the fun and sometimes terrifying part. Looking back on how far I've come always makes me proud because of how time has changed and how I've taken to each new challenge thrown at me. Not always gracefully, but I always come out the other side. Though my childhood marriage may not have worked out, I still look back on it and smile. Though I'm not the same little girl I was, dancing connects me to her. Our childhood creates us. We are made of memories and will continue to be so. I hope you all feel the same looking back on your childhoods. I hope it brings a smile to your face, knowing how far you've come and the journey that has brought you here today. Growing up is never easy, but it is rewarding all the same. Now I can't wait to hit my 20s and be great at everything and truly understand the universe to its fullest extent, because that's what comes with the 20s, isn't it?
Okay, now we ask you to open up the envelopes again. And there's a folded up note card. Please do not show anybody the word that you got. And on the back, with the pen that you may have, if you don't, you can borrow it from your neighbor or something. Draw what your word says. And you'll have a few moments to do this. While Wells plays. Again, please do not show anybody. It will, be revealed later. And then slip it back in and wait for further instructions.
Our closing hymn is number 1056 in your teal, 1064 in your teal hymnal. You all know this. Will you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing Blue Boat Home?
I've been sailing all my life.
Now please reveal what you drew on your paper to your neighbor. By now, you've noticed everyone has the same word, but has drawn a different flower. This is a metaphor for how everyone is beautiful in their own way, but is almost the same in a way too. As you leave today, please put your flowers on the UU flower garden right outside the door.
A bud is a flower to be, a flower in waiting, waiting for just the right warmth and care and to open up. It's a little fist of love waiting to unfold and be seen by the world, and that is you.